y'all, and welcome back to Season 3 of Old Iron Talk. Today we are talking with our special guest, Roger Johnson. He is going to tell us a little bit about how he got into the hobby, the collecting world, and some of his favorite items that he's collected throughout the years. We also wanted to highlight, we do have some books for sale on our website, oldirongarage.com, including this book right in front of me, The American Industrial Machinery. This book talks about all different kind of machinery from the past, including sawmills, engines, old printing machines, construction equipment that was used back in the day. There's some awesome pictures in there as well. To help feature this book and the information that is in it, each week we will highlight a certain item that is listed in it to show you guys a little bit of the imagery and information that you might find. Just click the link below to start browsing what books we have for sale on our site. But we are excited to talk to Roger, so let's get to chatting. So we're here today with Roger Johnson, and he's commonly known around here as Catfish, but we can get into that a little later. Roger, can you kind of give everybody a background about yourself, where you grew up, how you got into the collecting hobby, how you ended up at Almonds, kind of let everybody know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. I grew up in Scott County, east of Manchester, Illinois. So I've lived there my whole life. I grew up there. I currently live on where my grandparents farmed, and my dad's a lifelong farmer, and even my brother. We all three live right out there still. My dad, my brother, and myself. I started collecting toys when I was a kid. I mean, Dad would take me to tractor pulls and things, and every year for my birthday, I'd pick up a toy. Of course, back then at the state fair, you had a lot of the implement dealerships would all set up with their toys and display items and different things. So that's how actually I got started into it. So I started collecting toys. As far as I've done a lot of things. I mean, I've been a machine operator. I worked in HR at Mobile Chemical in Jacksonville, Illinois for several years, 27 to be exact. And then I was in service management for a John Deere dealership, and actually in Perry, Illinois, and also worked in a car dealership as a service manager. And for several years, I've consigned through Almond Auctions for many years, where I would run into Kurt at different places, and he'd just say, "Hey, Roger, why don't you come to work for me?" And, never really give it a lot of thought because, you're raising kids, you got, different things going on, and it's hard to make the break. But I really wish I'd have done it probably 15 years sooner. But I'm glad I did it, and I really enjoy what I do now, and a great bunch of people here I work with.
Now you've been here, 5 years?
Yeah, a little over 5 years. So.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, tell everybody why John Deere. Why is that what you have an interest in?
Well, honestly, I grew up with John Deere. We didn't have anything but John Deere on the farm. And to this day, my dad doesn't think there's anything but John Deere. Yeah. So I grew up driving a bunch of old two-cylinder tractors. I mean, I always told my dad we were about 20 years behind everybody else. He said, well, keeping up with the neighbors don't make you any money. So
that's true.
We were small farmers. I had me and my brother, we all drove the John Deere tractors. We had I spent a lot of time on a 620. Then we got a 730, which was a lot smoother than the 620. But those are a couple of my favorite tractors. But I can remember when we got our first 4010 diesel wide front, and man, in the morning, we'd have coffee first thing, because my dad and my uncle farmed together, and I worked with my three cousins, and then myself and my brother. We'd all get all those two cylinders popping all through the field. But we got that 4010, and some of my cousins got a little older and kind of away. It was me and my youngest cousin from my uncle's side of the family. But we would literally, in the morning, it'd be a race to see who could get on that 4010 first. Almost knock each other over trying to get on it. Because that was like getting on a Cadillac.
That was a big upgrade.
That was a big upgrade. It's 4010 diesel. So, that was, that's one of my favorite tractors, which we still own to this day.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's cool.
620 still in the family. No 730s anymore, but we have a couple 60s. And so we still have two cylinders in the family, but looking back at it, we're still 20, 30 years behind. I mean, we got the 4760s, the 4640s. We still farm with that 7720 combines. But like I said, we're small farmers. We would be hobby farmers today. We used to farm the whole city block when I was a kid. So,
yeah, it doesn't take much to be a hobby farmer today. It's crazy how many acres people farm anymore. So.
It is.
So are you an original paint guy, or do you like restored tractors better?
I'm an original paint guy. I like original paint tractors, and I have a collection of pedal tractors. Matter of fact, you've seen the ones in my office, both original paint. My favorite pedal tractor is an original A pedal tractor, and I know a lot of people like the rare coffin engine dime store version of that tractor, but I still would rather see the green and yellow paint on my tractor, and I just like the original. It's even got the original umbrella on it, so
that's cool.
That's one of my favorite pieces. So.
So I know recently you started building a new shed. Is that going to be where you kind of keep everything?
Yes. Yeah. I have a collection of several things. I have some memorabilia. I have signs. I collect the boy box toys. As you know, I brought an example today with the tractor and wagon set, and I got a farm set here. It's a bubble box set, but with the bubbles not on it, which most of them aren't. They got tore or something. But like I said, signs, literature, memorabilia. I have a collection of all. I got a original literature rack from the 19 teens. I keep a lot of my older literature in. So yeah, I'm just in the process of putting together a barn so I can display all my items.
Okay. Now, will you collect anything John Deere, or do you have like a specific niche that you kind of prefer, or what really catches your eye that makes you think, yeah, I want that in my collection?
Well, honestly, a lot of it's just eye appeal. I mean, I've kind of migrated through my collecting years, changed over the years. Because originally when I was younger, I started collecting, I was collecting toys in the 80s. I had a few toys, and I kind of got completely away from that because I felt like there was a collector tractor for every tractor that come out, they make a collector, and I just felt like they were flooding the market with those. So my interest went to memorabilia and old pocket ledgers and horse-drawn, and I had a big collection of chromolithographs from the 1800s. So I had a pretty good collection of those. Early trade cards, the pocket companions, just a lot of early literature. I mean, so I started out horse-drawn, a lot of early horse-drawn, and I still have some of those items. I mean, I have an 1890 calendar, a printer's proof that they made the originals off of. But most of my collecting now, I've done more. I've kind of migrated over where I collect local. I try to do local Illinois companies that are close to home, where I grew up going to the dealership. For example, a lot of them aren't even open anymore. Yeah. Like Moulton's Garage. I mean, I brought in, like, I have a rain gauge from there. So I'll pick up stuff like that. I've got a thermometer from Gordon Implement, which is in Scott County, probably 12 miles or so away from my house. But we'd go in there to get parts or, anything we needed. So when I was a kid, I grew up going into those dealerships. So I have an interest. I've got a pocket ledger over there from Rigston, and I got a couple favorite items too. That they're not my most valuable items, but they are my favorite items. I've got a 1916 Furrow. This one's actually from Murrayville, which is 5 miles from me, but I grew up going to Murrayville Implement too. But this is one from Rigston, the Hunter Funk one.
And what was the Furrow?
The Furrow it was a magazine that John Deere put out every month, every quarter, for farmers to read. And I'm not sure if they even do that anymore, to be honest with you.
I don't know if they do. Yeah,
I think so many things have gone electronic now, but yeah, like that Furrow right there is from 1916.
That's cool.
Yeah, thank you. And that was, and I actually framed it. It was from Heaton Brothers in Manchester, Illinois, which you can't find anything from Manchester.
Were they open in your lifetime?
They were as a hardware store. They had a few wagons and implements and stuff, but years ago, I guess, everybody hardware stores sold walking plows, wagons, just different things like that. And I actually have a pocket ledger. I think I have 2 pocket ledgers from Manchester in that furrow, but those are some of my favorite. They are my favorite pieces. And then, like I said, I've got one from Murrayville, which is another local dealership that I went to. Baker Implement, Murrayville Implement, and then Hall Brothers in Jacksonville was another one. These were cardboard signs they had out. Actually, if I see one, I buy it. I think I've got 3 or 4 of the same one of these, but they're neat and they're hard to come by. So.
Yeah. So, what's the trick to finding local stuff? Where do you find a lot of the local?
I'll tell you what, it's a lot of. I mean, it's just a lot of work and being in the right place at the right time. I have people that get used to you buying the stuff, and you can call them pickers, call them whatever you want, but they would find me stuff. Hey, I found some. Yeah, they'd say, hey, and they know I collect John Deere, and I've collected it for basically my whole life, So I got into memorabilia, like I said, in the early 90s. So, they say, hey, I got a pocket ledger you need to look at, or I got this thermometer you need to look at. So I kind of focus on that. It kind of feeds, people get the word gets out, and I've stayed local. I could see where if I went to another part of the state, people aren't going to find me stuff, that goes with my collection. So,
have you found anything like really unique at an antique mall before?
Oh yeah. And I tell you what, that has become much harder to do. Yeah. Occasionally at flea markets, I've found stuff. But it's not what it used to be. I can remember the best hit I ever made. I was a pretty young kid, at the time, and I was in the South Jacksonville Antique Mall, and I went in there, and they had these 4 pocket ledgers. They were old, early ones from Hall Brothers in Jacksonville, and they were $7 a piece. I remember that.
That's crazy.
So I get them, and I bring them home, and I put them in this little case, which is pretty cool. And then I had a buddy that also collected at the time. He's passed on since. But I took him down to the coffee shop in the morning for coffee. And I said, hey, man, look what I found, and all this. He goes, oh, no, you want to sell those? I said, no, I don't sell them. I just got them, Of course, I'm a young kid trying to get by. And so he said, how much you want for them? I said, not for sale. He said, would you take $1,000 cash for them? And he got my attention because I'm young. So I said, yeah, I guess I would sell them for that. I'll look for some more. So anyway, that was kind of but like I said, I've had a passion for it my whole life. Grew up with it. My grandfather was a farmer. Our whole family's lifelong farmers. I don't get to spend the time I used to farming because my brother has taken a lot of the roles. My dad, he actually farmed till he was 85. Yeah, and he just turned 88. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so he was out there. He was still climbing around even after a few tumbles and breaking ribs on corn stalks, falling off the truck.
Oh my gosh!
Hard to keep him down though. Them old farmers are pretty tough.
They are.
But he slowed down a lot, in the last few years. But my brother's kind of picked up, and my cousin they kind of help each other out now, and I get out there when I can and help out, drive the truck and different things for them during harvest or whatever I can do to keep them rolling.
That's good though. That's awesome that it stayed in your family.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're pretty rooted, and that's just a part of life to me.
No, that's awesome. Okay, what's one item that you've came across that you didn't buy but you wish you would have?
Well, when I was just talking about South Jacksonville Antique Mall, and there was a nice rain gauge in there. It was similar to this one right here. It's from Oriental with the 4-legged deer on it. Only this one's Quality of Farm Equipment, which I've got another one at home that just has the 4-legged deer on it. Okay. But that one's actually from Oriental, Illinois, which isn't too far from here. It's over by Decatur.
Oh, okay.
But I found one rain gauge with just the 4-legged deer logo, and it was from Hull Implement in that South Jacksonville Antique Mall, and it was $35. And I was like, man, I had to think about that because, back in the early 90s, that was a lot of money to me. I had 2 kids and trying to get by and everything. So I passed it up, and man, it just ate me up. I was like, I got to go back and get that. So I go back the next day and I walk and I was like, where's it at? And when I got there, I was like, you got a rain gauge? I went in front and said, it was sitting over there. Yeah, that sold yesterday. I was like, oh yeah, definitely. So I was not happy about that. But you know, I've passed up on a lot of stuff, but it's just different points in your life. You know, you buy what you can afford, and buy what you enjoy. Collect what you like, because if you're stuck with it, you're fine. You know, you don't buy it, to me, for an investment. This is just me personally. You buy what you like.
Yes, I get that.
So, I mean, if it gains value, which normally it does.
I was gonna say most of the stuff probably will.
It does. I mean, like this rain gauge now, and you know, people take whatever, but that thing would probably be in the $500 range now. You know, because that's new old stock. But you know, back in the day, like I said, I passed it up for $35. Yeah. But getting back to that story, I actually found that same rain gauge. A guy had his auction, and believe it or not, it was many years ago. It was back in the 90s. He had a whole implement in Hull, Illinois rain gauge. It showed up on his auction, and believe it or not, I bought it for $20.
Dang. Say
$15. Yeah, so I still have it to this day too. So
look at you go.
But, yeah. So I collect, like I said, mostly all local stuff's kind of a focus. Boy box toys from the 60s when I grew up, playing with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so
when you were a kid, what was your dream toy that you wanted?
I always liked the 4010 pedal tractors, you know, so my brother had one, and I'd kind of get to use it when he wasn't playing with it, you know. But I never did get one. We always had to share.
Oh, man.
But when he quit playing with us so much, I started thinking, you know, we always went to tractor pulls and stuff. So I'd start decorating the shifter up on it and stuff and messing with it, all that. And I actually restored it back in the 80s and give it back to my brother. So,
oh, that's cool. I bet he appreciated that.
Yeah. And I actually pulled my cousins. They had a DT63 4020, which was the first year they come out. They made that casting 2 years, and they had one out on the junk pile, on the top of the junk pile, and I seen it out there. And of course, that was the 80s. I was getting into those toys, and I asked my uncle. I said, "Hey, Uncle Dick, you care if I grab that off your junkyard or off your pile out there?" And he goes, "Oh, go ahead. You can have it. I don't care." So I took it home and put new wheels, painted it all up, put decals, and it was really sharp. And I gave it to my daughter.
Oh, okay.
Well, then lo and behold, my cousin finds a picture of himself on that when they got it for Christmas back years ago. That's and he showed me that picture. And
that's very cool.
So
he's circle.
But yeah, it goes full circle. And like I said, you just treat people right, treat people how you want to be treated, and treat them fair, you know, when you're buying stuff, and can't go wrong collecting. Yeah. There's so many good people in the hobby.
There is, yes.
I really enjoy the customers here at Allman's. I enjoy Classic Green. You know, you go in.
Classic Green was a lot of fun.
It is fun, and just everybody's so genuine, and you know, it's just a good group of people, and their motto's great. You know, it's all about the people, and it really is. All of this is. I mean, we're just basically caretakers for future generations. Yep. Same way with farm ground or anything else you do in life.
All right, Roger. So I know a lot of people here, including Josh, think you have the coolest office around. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have in your office here?
Well, I wouldn't say I have the coolest office. Kurt's got that.
Well, yeah.
He's got the coolest
He is
office.
The boss man.
Yeah,
so.
He is. But he does. But I appreciate that, you know, and everybody. But yeah, I mean, I've got like Argentina toys in there. I've got these actually sit in my office. Yeah. I've got a couple pedal tractors. I've got a Dane corn sheller, which is very hard corn sheller to find. Yep, really and I actually have a Dane lithograph for the double geared mill that sits right above that as well. I've got an old decal from the early window decal for a John Deere dealership that's framed in there. So other toys I've just picked up here and there, some Vindex. Of course, I have a lot of stuff at home too that I keep in my office at home. So, and like I said, I got a lot of signage at home, and I got a few signs in my office. I got the one that's pretty cool is it's the power steering sign.
That one is very cool.
Yeah, mounted on the steering wheel when they come out with that.
Yep.
53 on the John Deere 60s stuff. So, and I got a German Lance sign in there, original one, porcelain. You see a lot of reproductions, but you don't see a lot of original.
How'd you find that one?
Actually, it come from the Netherlands.
Okay.
Friend of mine, well, you probably know him. Do you know Martin van der Zanden?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he actually found that for me and was kind enough to sell it to me. So
very cool.
That's how I attained that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, just this stuff here and there I picked up, and I kind of put in there just to kind of.
Okay, I gotta get the opinion of like the female perspective. What does your wife think about all the things you collect?
Well, I think she appreciates it. Mm-hmm. She really does, and she likes that I like it. So she doesn't have any problems for it. Her interest is nothing like mine.
Yeah.
Which is funny because she grew up in a little town of Murrayville, which is 5 miles away from us. And her dad's a farmer too. He worked at the power company until he was in his 40s, retired from there, which actually my brother went to work at the power company after that. So, but then he started in farming. So she's grew up around farming too. And actually, they farm with IH, which is when my kids were little, like Dalton, we'd have Christmas. It was a little competitive because he'd go to one grandparent's house and he'd get a John Deere combine. He'd go to their house, he'd get an International combine, and I'd kind of push that International
away.
away, but which is okay. I've grown to appreciate them all. They're all really neat stuff, and the more I'm in this job, the more I appreciate International, Minneapolis, Oliver. It's all cool stuff.
But you're still a little biased.
I'm very biased, so but that's just me.
It is, yep.
If it nothing runs like a deer, like I've said before.
That is what they say.
That was actually a snowmobile slogan.
Yeah.
That's where it started out in the 70s there.
All right, let's finish up by talking a little more about the stuff you have here. And you've got a couple items we haven't touched on yet.
Okay.
So where's this oil can from?
Well, that's actually, believe it or not, I found that in an antique mall not very long ago, about a year ago in Dyersville, Iowa.
Oh, really?
It's a little antique mall right there off 20. And I was in there, and I looked. I said, "Man, that thing's mint."
It is nice.
That oil can. And then I asked people to get out of the case. Can I take a look at that? So I get it out of there, and I scroll around. I said, "Orangeville Implement, Orangeville, Illinois." And I was like, "That? How did that? It's just weird how stuff migrates away."
It is.
And I pulled that out, and I was like, "Well, they had a decent price on it, And I'm like. But I didn't even really think about it. I was like, yeah, I got to have that.
Got to have that
so,
one.
because that's local. I mean, you were actually up there with me when we did that little Alice Chalmers sale up there for Daryl Beard from Beard Implement. You remember that?
Not too far away.
Yeah, you helped me out with that. So, but yeah, no, I grabbed that right up. And I actually have a thermometer at home from Orangeville too.
Oh, really? That's
cool. I have quite a few local things. That's just always kind of been my thing.
Yeah.
I've got shop coats. I've got a shop shirt from Murrayville Implement, and which, like I said, is 5 miles away. Grew up going there too. I can remember winning a toy there at John Deere Day.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
When they come out with the Generation 2 tractors, it was like 73, and they had the new Gen ones, and I got a new one. Of course, got rid of the box, and back then I didn't know any better.
Silly
So,
kids.
but I remember winning that at John Deere Day, and I always enjoyed John Deere Days. They were a lot of fun. Going and watching the movies.
I was gonna say, my dad's talked about that, and then Hunter's grandpa's actually talked about how he went to school in Nokomis, and they used to let him out. I can't remember if it was every month, but they'd go to the movie theater in Nokomis to watch the movie that John Deere put on.
Yeah,
so
I tell you, getting back to Nokomis, it was, I think it was J.W. Panwith Implement or something years and years ago. Well, I was talking to a guy at Gathering in the Green. He said, you collect watch fobs and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. He said, well, I got a old watch fob. I said, okay. He said, it's from St. Louis, John Deere Plow Company in St. Louis. And it's the spear-shaped shield. It's pretty neat, sharp, but it's a cool logo and very hard to find stuff out of St. Louis anyway. But he brings it, and he says, well, you interested in it? I said, well, I am, but I said, I know it's not going to be cheap. And obviously, we got the deal done. I ended up with it. When I looked at the back, though, I was like, I got to have this. It said J.W. Panwith or something like that. I can't remember at this time. Nokomis, Illinois.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I was really glad to get that fob.
Yeah.
Really cool, rare fob. But again, I was the one to have it, so Kurt's got it now.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
So he likes Nokomis stuff.
Yeah.
He's kind of like I am when it comes to that, and we've always hit it off and stuff like that. So we did some trading, and he ended up with it, and he's still got it today. So
cool. Cool.
So that's just the kind of stuff. It's fun collecting and finding stuff for other people that that they like. So
yeah, no, it definitely is. Okay, are both of these from the same place or are they different?
Actually, they're not. One actually, I worked a little bit there. One's from Gordon Implement in Rigston, which is the thermometer and one of the pocket ledgers.
Okay.
But then the other one's from Perry Farm Equipment in Perry, Illinois, which I did my training in Rigston when I was working in service management for John Deere, and ultimately I landed over in Perry. Not the same dealership at that time; it was Aaron's and All in Rigston and Perry. So then I worked for them for I don't know 4 or 5 years doing that. So, like I said, it's I've got a few items. I think that's Perry Farm Equipment. So again, like I'd pick up stuff from local places, and we used to go over there too. I can remember.
Did you?
Yeah, I think it was Cato and Son. We went over there. We had just a nice 4320 bought, and me and Dad went over there and check it out, and see, go look at it, and said we'd take it. We got over there. I guess there was some conflicting differences with two salesmen were selling it. By the time we got over there, it was already gone. And, so that was one of those deals where you're like up, and then you're like, oh man, to have that tractor today, the 4320, that is one of my favorite tractors too, the 4320. We've never actually owned one, but I
really
still like them.
Still,
Yeah, I mean, that would be one of, if I ever had the opportunity. But they've gotten, they're pricey.
Yeah,
so,
things have definitely gotten a little pricey. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so what's one thing left on your bucket list that you would like to try and find and buy one day?
Well, I've knocked a couple of them off, believe it or not. Yeah, that A pedal tractor was one.
Yeah.
But there actually is one thing. There was one thing that made it full circle a long time ago that I ended up with a chromolithograph that I'd chased for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And it was funny when I got it, on the back it said sell to Roger Johnson.
That is funny.
And I ended up with it, which,
cool.
was a fortunate deal. But I guess the one thing I'm looking for that I'm missing, like I said, I collect the Boy Box toys, and I would like to have the Deluxe Farm Set, the Boy Box Farm Set.
That would be very cool to have, yes.
Yeah, so that's just, and I've got this one, and I'm not sad because this is nice too.
Yeah.
But I would, if I could ever get one of those, I'd like to have it, but I'm not sure that I'll want to shell out the money I'll have to pay for it.
You might one day.
Yeah, you never know. But,
you don't know.
It's may not be as high on my priority list as it once was.
That's true.
So as you get older, things kind of change sometimes, what you're willing to shell out. So
that's fair. Okay, as we wrap up, what is one piece of advice you have gotten from being a part of the hobby, or something that, like a piece of advice that someone in the hobby has given you?
Well, and I kind of hit on it a little bit earlier. It was that Dale Lenz was I had some really good mentors in the hobby when I was young, and I listened and I paid attention and I did shows with them and things. I would set up at shows with different people, but Dale Lenz, Dave Schnockenberg, and Henry Schlotzka were three guys in the hobby that I learned a lot from. Dave and Henry they were on early horse drawn. They knew lithography, and as you know, I ended up here at Almonds. We sold the Dave Schnockenberg collection, which was really impressive. Some nice lithographs and things like that. Dale gave me probably the most good advice out of everybody, and like I hit on early, he said, collect what you like, and don't pay more than you can afford to pay for something. Because if you can, it's easy to get caught up in stuff. And he's just said, collect what you like. And then if you have it for a lifetime, you'll always be happy with it.
Yeah.
So I've tried to stick with that. And probably the best thing I can tell most people, and I know it's not possible for everybody, but collect quality over quantity.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I look at stuff.
Yeah.
But,
that's fair. That 100%. Both of those are very true. I know some people though collect quantity over quality because it's what they can afford.
Well, we witnessed some of that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I think if you can afford it, and I always looked at it was like I got to the point in my collecting career where it was really hard to find something that really tripped my trigger. So I was always happy. I said if I can get 2 or 3 good pieces in a year, good pieces, then I would be happy.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't be anyway, but if I come across 2 or 3 good things in a year's time, I figured like it was, I was to that level where, that I would be happy with that, so.
No, I don't disagree. Well, if you ever get your shed done in full, you'll have to give us a tour of it.
I definitely will. I've got an old wagon that come from Hall Brothers. It's got stenciled on there. It says Hall Brothers Jacksonville. It's an old John Deere Triumph. I've got several signs out of Hall Brothers in Jacksonville. I've got a big, it's 3x9 or something like that. And I've got the 4-legged deer and the quality farm equipment to go under it. And I've got just a bunch of signs, local signs too.
Oh yeah, it'll look very cool when you get it done.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
I bet.
I'll get there one of these days.
Yep, you'll get there.
Yep.
All right, well thanks for joining us today, Roger.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Again, we'd like to thank Roger for joining us today. He has a pretty awesome collection so far, and we can't wait to see what else he adds along the way. Hopefully one day we can do a Show Me Your Shed version with Roger as well. We encourage everyone to join us on oldirongarage.com. If you have an interest in being featured in one of our episodes, please give us an email at info@oldirongarage.com. We also encourage you to submit your collection photos to info@oldirongarage.com to be featured at the end of our episodes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.